Hey everyone, I'm going to cover a case presentation today of someone who had hip osteoarthritis and hip pain right in the groin area. I'm going to cover the things that we did in a history and examination process to figure out what to do with his scenario, and also a few suggestions that we gave him that was really nice and showed a good improvement on day one. Stay tuned for the whole video. I'm Sebastian from Performance Place, part of the locally world famous chiropractors in Costa Mesa, California. We believe at Performance Place we can really help out with things like groin pain and hip osteoarthritis by giving you the right exercises to do. This person was an interesting scenario where he actually had something called Dremen's sign. Dremen's sign, if you usually have to be assessed by somebody to properly identify it. And so Dremen's sign is going to be more the person is going to evaluate you while you're on your back, and they're going to bring your knee up towards your chest. Now, a lot of people will have pain with this when they have things like arthritis of the hip. Osteoarthritis is the most common, but not everybody. But Dremen's sign is not necessarily the pain associated with it, but it's the movement we see when people go up. And so I'll turn a little bit to the camera here just so you can see what it'll look like. If you take a look at my foot in relationship to my knee, I know I don't have a cam person today, but you'll get a gist of it, is when it comes up, it flares like this. Like there's nothing I can do, there's no way you can push me in, it's going to flare. And so that's called Dremen's sign. It's not always painful, but as I start to push more across the body and force that movement that's not really there anymore, it starts to hurt the person, all right? This is a pretty good sign that there's some type of bony blockage, maybe even a labral tear, something that's actually physically blocking the ability to cross the knee past midline and also bring it towards the chest. Internal rotation then tends to bother it too. So it's almost like if you did a stretch like this, and this is the involved hip, it does not feel good. It actually really hurts. And the funny thing is this gentleman was actually doing this stretch. And so the number one thing we got to do is remove the trigger. Just remove the trigger, that's it. Okay, that's scenario one. What does that do? It's not really necessarily avoiding the thing, but it stops you from picking the scab off the area. So that's the first scenario, is removing the trigger. The second thing that we gave him was that we made it so his hip gets exposed to more extension. I've done this in other videos before too, and this is like a general like hip flexor stretch. And I tell them just go on here like they're the thinker, and just start to expose the hip to extension. You don't have to get as much as I do, and not that I'm going to get a lot either, but you have to expose the hip to extension because in theory we have to milk the joint, move the joint around, and almost get the nutrients to swirl around in the joint, and but you can't do it in a way that provokes pain, which that hip stretch that I just showed you earlier, that produces pain. That might be right for some people, but it's not right with most people with hip arthritis, because it's going to impact the air, it's smashing things together. So that's the first thing we did. The second thing we did. The third thing we did was to figure out, is there anything else that he's doing throughout his day unknowingly that he's creating his own problem? Because we got to cool this thing down to help build it up and build some strength into the leg. Actually, when we watched him squat, say this is the involved side, normally if you put your feet shoulder width apart and then make it so your feet don't flare, bring them in toes towards the camera, and usually when I do this everybody says, well, this is an awkward way to squat. Right, it's an assessment, so we got to keep things at least standardized. And so hands behind the head, which you cannot see, and we had him squat down just like so, and he actually started to drift weight into the side of complaint. If you remember that test Dremen's sign, if you go like this and you bring this knee closer to this opposite shoulder, it actually starts to increase the pain. And so he was actually unknowingly increasing his problem every single time he squat down. His way of squatting down that was more comfortable was feet out, which makes good sense because the knees are further out. But actually when we took it the other direction and put the knees together and said squat down, he's like, ooh, that's not really good at all. And so I had him push his knees out and go, and he said, oh, that's much better. And so it further confirms that there's there's a physical obstruction with this person. Now, does he need to have a surgery on the hip? Probably not right now. It may be something maybe in his future to get a normal ball and socket joint. But at this point in time, there's times of the day where he does not feel bad at all, and there's times of the day where he feels it pretty badly. So first thing we can do is almost do, we call it a virtual surgery, is don't do the things that piss it off and do the things that make it feel better. And then support the area with a little bit of corrective exercises, if you will. And so none of the exercises should provoke it. And so we took the approach of doing the exercise that did not provoke it. Originally, when we picked this, I'll scoot way back just because of camera angle here. I picked this version of almost like a side plank. I had the knee flexed a little, hip flexed a little bit, mainly because this biases the exercise more towards the glute max, which is what we want. But he tended to have some aggravation with it. Again, if you take this position, and if we do the exercise as I was, the knee is crossing to the shoulder. So it's provoking. Instead, ignore my feet against the wall, but I had him put his knees down into what we call a side bridge. The side bridge worked really well with him. It was just hard. And that's all we want. Find a plank position, stay right there, draw a line between your nose and your belt buckle and between your knees, and just stay right there. And come on down. The idea is to do it for time and then take little breaks. And so we had him do it for about 5 to 10 seconds, 5-second break, 5 to 10 seconds, 5-second break, and keep going like that. He had a question of like, well, shouldn't I be doing it longer? No, not at this point. You will get to doing it longer if we give you short breaks. Don't do like a burst of like 10 seconds and then walk away and get some coffee. Like, you got to do little tiny breaks. It's called endurance. We're trying to build torso endurance, and we're going to build some support for the hip as we start to unravel and cool it down and then build it back up a little bit. So there's obviously things this gentleman won't be able to do again very easily, like crossing his legs, and maybe hockey goalie is not in his future. But it doesn't mean he can't do the things that he wants to do. Weight training, walking, running, hiking, being physically active. Like, all these things are very possible. And so if you guys are looking for a really good assessment on your hip and making sure you're doing the right thing and not doing exercises that provoke it, you can always reach out to us. We're at Performance Place in Costa Mesa, California. We see people virtually or in person, and as you can kind of see by this video, you can see some of the things I was talking about, and we can do the same thing with you. We can see you move. We need to see the information about how your body's moving, if you're compensating, as well as identify the things that it's currently not tolerant of. And part of using part of the assessment of using exercise to figure out if it's provoking you or not is part of figuring out tolerances. And so really, we're picking up a book in the middle and we're trying to learn what to do with you. So we'd love to help you out. We have a great webinar too that comes up. I think it's on this side of the video. But it covers a lot of the diagnostic procedures that we do with people to figure out what type of hip pain they have, because there's generally 3 types of hip pain, as well as some exercises that work for that. And so if you do have any questions or concern about diagnoses, that is the place to go. It's completely free, and we'd love to have you guys take advantage of it. So we'll see you guys next time. Take care.